Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is December the 22nd, 2024. Hope this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Today was nice. It was relaxed. It was, dare I say, almost lazy. I did get, a couple things done. I woke up a little bit later from going out. We'll get into that in a little bit. But went to the grocery store, then went and worked out, then, came home, and now we're here, more or less. But yeah, overall, pretty functional day. It was good. Still a bit sore. Neck feels a bit better, so that's nice. That kind of seemingly wore off with a little bit of time. Back is still not great, but we're doing better. So far so good there. So I feel like I'm improving. Still needing to get a couple Advil here and there, but I'll take it. But yeah, so about last night. Last night was fun. I went to Northside. Felt like it had been almost like a month, like 3 weeks or so. So it was nice just to hang out with the homies, really kick it, have a good time. I got Chameleon for dinner, so that was the food corner. We had a slice of white cheese pizza, more or less like the Bianca of the day, what they call it. And then I got a pepperoni pizza, and then there was like an accident on my friend's order, so we got an extra meatball sandwich and fries. So like I literally like it was like a cartoon character where I just like the smell or the scent just like wafted me over because like he had kind of seemed like I don't really want it that bad or whatever. We'll put it up, maybe save it for leftovers. And I was like, yeah, that's my cue. Let me check it out. So I had a couple of nipples, and then I gave it up. Gave it back to him. I felt a little bad afterwards. I was like, I shouldn't have eaten that. I knew he would have wanted it. I would have wanted it. So, I was a bit covetous there of the sandwich, but it is so yummy. It is an amazing sandwich. That might be, if I had to say a sandwich of the year, it probably is the meatball sandwich. Like, whew, it's crazy good. Anyway, that was my night. That was my day. So let's go ahead and do our startup, and we can go and get into some news. All right. First story comes from the Associated Press. 38 people are dead and over 100 missing in Congo after a ferry capsizes on the Brasilia River. I'm sure I'm getting that wrong, but sorry. A ferry overloaded with people returning home for Christmas capsized on the Brasilia River in northeastern Congo, leaving 38 people confirmed dead and over 100 missing. Officials and eyewitnesses said Saturday. 20 people have been rescued so far. The sinking of the ferry late Friday came less than 4 days after another boat capsized in the country's northeast, killing 25 people. The ferry was traveling as part of a convoy of other vessels, and the passengers were primarily merchants returning home for Christmas, said Joseph Kengonglione. I'm sure I'm getting that wrong as well, but according to who is the mayor of Ngindi, the last town on the river before the site of the accident. According to the Ngindi resident Nidolo Kadi, the ferry contained more than 400 people because it made two ports, Ngindi and Lulo, and or it might be Lolo, on the way to Boendi. So there is reason to believe there were more deaths. Congolese officials have often warned against overloading boats and vowed to punish those violating safety measures on the rivers. However, in remote areas, many people cannot afford public transportation on the few available roads. Also, it's an issue too because of Congolese rebels that traffic on roads is just generally like it's just you have to be very cautious, you have to be very mindful, and it's a potential fear. So the ferries are kind of preferred method of transport in this situation. But also, I think that was alarming was and problematic for people or upsetting for people is the latest accident prompted anger at the government for not equipping the convoy with flotation devices, which being that these things are so on the rise, not to mention you should just have these kind of things in case of an emergency. That's very upsetting. That's very infuriating. So I just wanted to cover this story, just to start off. Obviously, it's not super nice, super bright, but sometimes we got to do that. We got to get into the thick of it, the ick of it. But yeah, let's go ahead and go to. I got this story. Technically, it's Woman's World, but I got it from Yahoo News. But Lay's recalls chips due to life-threatening reactions. I don't know. I feel like it's weird because it's like obviously not. Wouldn't just be like a woman's issue, but hey, Women's World's getting their coverage out, and I appreciate them for giving me some solid reference point to use. So, according to the Food and Drug Administration or the FDA, Frito-Lay chips issued a recall for its beloved Lay classic potato chips due to a heightened risk of serious or life-threatening allergic reactions. We have everything you need to know about the recall, including what to do if you have contaminated products in your home. The Frito-Lay company announced the recall after receiving complaints that a limited number of 13-ounce bags of Lay's classic potato chips that may contain undeclared milk. So they're a little too creamy, maybe. This means that certain bags of chips that the company sent out contained milk, but did not mark them as such. In doing so, people with an allergy or severe sensitivity to milk run the risk of allergic reactions if they consume the recalled product. The companies recalled them to try to avoid any life-threatening or serious complications that could come from eating the unmarked products. Let's see. As of now, the recall has only been issued in Oregon and Washington states, although, according to the FDA, people in those states could have bought the mislabeled bags of chips as early as November 3rd. However, no allergy outbreaks have been reported thus far. Let's see here. In the press release obtained by Woman's World, the FDA detailed that the recalled bags will have a guaranteed fresh date by February 11th, 2025, and will have either they go through the little codes here. I'm not running all the numbers there, but it's in the article. As their manufacturing codes. No other types of chips have been recalled at this point. So, we can overall just leave it there. Obviously, you should call Lay's. They have you can contact Frito-Lay Consumer Relations. They do have the phone number 1-800-352-4477. Their hours are Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. CST. Also, you should dispose of the chips. Let's see here. Is there anything else I really wanted to pull from this? No, that'll be about it for that. I know we've covered a good amount of food recalls this year, but sometimes that happens. A lot of times they can happen in like in this situation specifically. It's not all over. It's not state or it's not like countrywide, but specific to certain states. And sometimes it's like kind of like any kind of train incident or any kind of plane incident, where sometimes it can kind of happen and it can kind of take the focus media wise. And then naturally a guy like me is going to see more of the stories and want to talk about more of the stories. I feel like that can be a thing as well. But that being said, sometimes it is a higher trend. They are on like a higher thing. I feel like it also is important to maybe see what is being recalled and for what reason. I know like seeing a lot of things like with like boar's head and listeria and shit like that, for example. And we start seeing that more and more. But, sometimes it's just flavor of the year type shit, but definitely I always feel like it's worth covering. It's interesting. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about a couple of at least pull a couple of stories here actually real quick. I gotta backpace a bit. Just about bird flu a little bit of a bird flu update. California declared an emergency. How serious is bird flu? So we'll start here. Once again from the Associated Press. California declared an emergency. How serious is bird flu? I already read that. My bad. California officials have declared a state of emergency over the spread of bird flu, which is tearing through dairy cows in the state and causing sporadic illnesses in people in the U.S. That raises new questions about the virus, which has spread for years in wild birds, commercial poultry, and many mammal species. The virus, also known as type A H5N1, was detected for the first time in U.S. dairy cattle in March. Since then, bird flu has been confirmed at least 866 herds in 16 states. More than 60 people in 8 states have been infected with mostly mild illnesses, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. One person in Louisiana has been hospitalized with the nation's first known severe illness caused by the virus, health officials said this week. So here we go. Let's go a little further here. Governor Gavin Newsom said he declared the state of emergency to better position state staff and supplies to respond to the outbreak. I believe this was in response to a new case being reported. So they're like, okay, let's just really be on it. Let's really be serious about it. California has been looking for bird flu in large milk tanks during processing, and they have found the virus in at least 650 herds, representing about 3/4 of all affected U.S. dairy herds. The virus was recently detected in Southern California dairy farms after being found in the state's Central Valley since August. So it looks like stuff like this, we're like, okay, we're on really heightened alert, and we should just go ahead and just take it there. So, I mean, I get that. That makes sense. And then also, of course, we're hearing about that Louisiana story. Granted, the patient in that situation is older than 65 and had underlying medical problems. But that being said, it doesn't denote the fact that like bird flu is something that is spreading and is becoming more and more common. I wouldn't say rapidly, but it is becoming more of a thing, or at least we're talking about it more in human beings. So it's like, ooh, that's concerning. That's a potential fear, just looking towards potential, pandemic situations. Is it going to hit there? Hopefully not. And I would also add to, not to like raise any panic or anything, but these are low. Like it's still a low occurrence, low frequency. So I don't think it's something that we need to be like, freak out. But, that being said, it's I feel like important to at least keep up with it to the best of my ability. And then another part I wanted to touch on here, I'm going to go ahead and backtrack again. Avian flu infects 2 more California dairy workers as CDC confirms Wisconsin case. The California Department of Public Health, the CDPH, today reported 2 more H5 avian flu infections, both in dairy workers, which is, I'm not going to say common, but we've covered this before, where it's like most likely, like, more commonly, if someone is going to get it, it's someone who is working directly with cows because you're like literally right up on top of them. So it tends to kind of happen that way. But then if it becomes so common, it can kind of go from people into, other people, which I think is becoming more and more of a fear. Let's see. Raising the state's total to 36. Also, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention today confirmed a presumptive case that Wisconsin reported this week in a poultry worker, raising the nation's total to 64 from 9 states since the start of the year. So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. But yeah, let's go ahead and move along to our next story from The Independent. Confused Congresswoman tracked to nursing home shines spotlight on troubling aging issues facing lawmakers. The discovery by a local newspaper of confused Texas Republican Representative Kay Granger, 81, living in an assisted care facility after she dropped out of sight last month has re-triggered concerns about aging lawmakers clinging to their powerful roles in the face of fears about diminishing competence. Now they go into a bit of a, I don't know. They talk about like Donald Trump, talk about Joe Biden being old. Obviously, we mentioned Dianne Feinstein. That was a whole thing that we've talked about before on the podcast. And, obviously even Nancy Pelosi gets a mention. But I really just kind of wanted to go right to the story itself. Though they do mention some definitely interesting facts just about like Joe Biden, about how like pretty much within the first few months, everyone kind of knew this is a problem. Like he is old, and not just like he looks a bit frail. We got to worry if he's gonna trip. No, like and we've just got once again another thing we've discussed is just he was all over the place. He was saying things to himself. He was saying things that didn't make any fucking sense. You put him out on a fucking debate floor, and it's like, what are you talking about, dog? Like, it was a mess. And it's just like, why is this guy in power? Like, what is going on here? Why are we not pulling off the brakes here? Like, we should have been more, appraised about that situation. So I get why they're going into details about this kind of stuff, because I do think it's important. But I just wanted to kind of focus more on Kay Granger herself and the story at hand. So anyway, smashing ahead. Her location is not a secret anymore, only due to reporting by the local news outlet which broke the story. The Express revealed that 81-year-old Kay Granger, a Republican, was discovered at a local assisted living home for seniors. No announcement has been made to constituents of her district, even though the lawmaker was absent from votes for months. So to me, this is crazy. And you could say, oh, well, you just didn't do your due diligence, Isaiah, blah, blah, blah. But this story was not a thing, like, in any kind of mainstream at all. And I mean, you can say, oh, well, this was going on and that was going on, blah, 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 blah. But, like, this is relevant shit. It's crazy that you have, for this whole time, a whole congressperson who has just been tucked away at a nursing home for what I believe is dementia. Now, like, they kind of came out and said, hey, you guys said that she was in a memory care unit, and that's not the case. She's just in a retirement home. That's what Granger's office told Fox News, at least. But her family, at least from what I've gathered so far, they're like, yeah, she has dementia. So that kind of adds up. And it's like, hey, at least in this situation, that this was the last term that they're going to have, and they're not running for re-election. But that being said, if this is your congressperson, wouldn't you want to be like really well aware that she's going through something like this, and like maybe that we're talking about some kind of contingency, or like what are we gonna do here? You should at least be appraised of this information. It shouldn't be just kept like some fucking secret so that she can collect a check. Like, I'm sorry, that's just not how this shit should work. These people should, once you kind of see that these problems are on the wall, or I don't know, maybe have some kind of age limit or something to that effect, like, so that we don't have these situations happening over and over and over again. Because I think this article kind of slates it like, oh, there's gonna be a reckoning in 2025 for this kind of shit, but I highly doubt it. Our future president is going to be old as fuck by the end of his fucking first term. So, like, at the end of the day, I think, us as Americans, we care about this shit. We find this shit really appalling and scary, because it's like, these are the people who have, the keys to our fucking country. They're the ones, guiding us, stewarding us. And it's like, they can't even be clocked in or checked in. You know what I mean? Trump, he tries to say, hey, I'm doing the weave right now. Okay. You got to keep up with me. I'm all over the place. But at the end of the day, I think we know what the fuck is going on there. But hey, it is, oh, sorry, I hit the mic. It is what it is. At the end of the day, these are the motherfuckers we vote for. These are the motherfuckers we do elect and put into power. And, I guess we just got to live with the fucking grandpa in power, the grandma in fucking, Congress. I don't know, man. It just is what it is. But let's see. We have one more thing I wanted to cover. A bit of old news in a way, but definitely I think one of those things where it is frustrating to hear that, I know I was just talking about one potential future pandemic or something like that with the bird flu shit, but obviously COVID, a thing we went through in 2020, how things were just managed or more or less mismanaged by the powers that be into the people like that are like, hey, more or less top, I don't know, I feel like you can definitely say 1%ers here, like, hey, you guys are already, super established, mega stars, mega celebrities in your field, and you took this money and just pissed it away. And meanwhile, there was plenty of people who were struggling. Anyway, this is a weird, long setup that's really probably not good for dropping any kind of information. Anyway, let's go ahead and take our last break, and we'll go ahead and close it out. Our last story comes from Stereogum, but I believe the main source is Business Insider. But, I'm just running it from here. Lil Wayne, Chris Brown, Alice in Chains, and others reportedly misused millions in taxpayer-funded COVID relief grants. In 2020, Congress passed a bill called the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, and Donald Trump signed it into law. The massive grant was intended to subsidize musicians and venues who were suffering from COVID-related shutdowns, but it also made funds available to a few extremely successful musicians. Today, Business Insider has published an expose about the ways that already successful musicians like Chris Brown, Lil Wayne, and Alice in Chains abuse those grants, using them to rake in millions and then spending that money in lavish ways. According to Business Insider, Lil Wayne got a taxpayer-funded $8.9 million grant and spent, and he spent more than $1.3 million from the grant on private jet flights and over $460,000 on clothes and accessories, many of them from high-end brands like Gucci and Balenciaga. While Wayne also reportedly used $175,000 of that money on a music festival promoting his marijuana brand GKUA, and also used the grant for flights and luxury hotel rooms for women whose connection to Lil Wayne's touring operation was unclear, including a waitress at a Hooters type restaurant and a porn actress. It's like, dude, already in this first example we have here, it's like, how is this money really used to do any kind of, shit that's from music or preservation of yourself? Like, no, it's like, I guess you could say preservation of your lifestyle, but it's like, that's not what this money was supposed to be used for in no way, shape, or form. But it was, I feel like, also in a way kind of very vague, at least how it's been portrayed to me, at least, or to the people, that it's like, hey, like, you get this money, you're going to use this money for a greater good in music or, for your craft, and that's going to keep things going. But also, it's like, someone like Lil Wayne, someone like Chris Brown, Alice in Chains, Steve Aoki, yada, yada, yada. These motherfuckers didn't need this. Like, as we're going to keep continuing and get through, this should have been going to people who are like, hey, we see you have like a certain kind of salary, or, you were making this kind of amount of money as a musician. Something like COVID's going to take you all the way out. You can't perform right now, and we don't know when you're going to be able to get out of it. Here's some money who can kind of help you maintain, or maybe, shift your focus into another digital, oriented fashion or way. That's how someone like that, if I'm taking myself back to that time, that's how I would assume this money is going to get used, right? Nah, it's just going to go to the top billed motherfuckers, the motherfuckers who already have way too much fucking money. And it's like, hey, I guess you can just take this and keep doing your crazy lifestyle. Isn't that fun? Have fun with that. Like, it just feels like it was set up for nothing else but that. And, sadly, that's kind of how it panned out. But let's go ahead and continue. The article further accuses Lil Wayne of taking $88,000 in taxpayer money for a concert in Coachella, California. In taxpayer money for a concert in Coachella, California, that he no-showed. When Business Insider reached him via text, Wayne responded with a sexually explicit overture to a reporter and did not respond to questions. See, it's like, dude, moments like this, it's like, yeah, dude, Lil Wayne's a fucking asshole, dude. And it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. He's still an amazing artist. He was. Like, now he's just a rattled out fucking gremlin. He's not doing anything. I'm sorry, bro. And then you hear about this shit. Like, that was only 4 years ago, bro. Like, it's not that far. I just... To me, I feel like Lil Wayne fell off in the worst fucking way, and hearing stories like this are just like, yeah, it's not fucking surprising, dude. I'm sure he really needed the money, because it's not like he was doing really anything that relevant, and he's still not doing anything relevant that now. He's over here bitching that he can't get a fucking Super Bowl gig. Like, shut up, bro. Boo. I used to listen to that dude all the fucking time. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I'd say out of all the people mentioned in this article, that's the one that definitely like kind of flares my nostrils. You know what I mean? The most. Though, I mean, Chris Brown, which we'll get to in a quick second, is definitely number 2. According to Business Insider, clients of the managing firm NKSFB got at least $270 million in grant money. and then the firm itself took in $7 million. They left behind a paper trail of how they spent that money, and the Business Insider piece goes over the ways in which they spent it. Chris Brown's touring company, for one, apparently received $10 million, and Chris Brown himself got $5.1 million. He also got $80,000 to throw himself a birthday party. Awesome. I love that. I love it for him. COVID is so hard, dude. Like, I'm going through so much right now, dude. I gotta wear this fucking mask, bro. You know what I need? I need, like, a big birthday party. I need motherfuckers to just know that I'm still here. I'm still thriving. So thank you, government, for allowing me to throw this birthday bash for myself. Like, what in the fuck is going on here, dude? Like, it's like, do we even call this a scam or like fraud, really? Because at the end of the day, like, y'all just gave them that money, and there was plenty of people who were like, hey, I actually could use this for like this, that, or the third reason. I'm a real person. I'm really trying to do. I'm a real musician, whatever, or insert business person for another kind of fucking COVID relief thing, and you got denied. You got fucking stonewalled. You got fucking nothing. Rot and die, because we don't know. You're not established. You're not fucking Lil Wayne. You're not this fucking big ass fucking business. We don't know. We don't trust you. Like, that's crazy. It's just so weird how backwards this shit was back then. It's just like a really annoying reminder of that shit to me. But continuing, Marshmello reportedly got nearly $10 million more than any other single musician. I mean, dude, I listened to a couple of Marshmello joints. I don't think he needs all that. I think he would have been fine. I think he could have held out, just waited. He's already got the helmet on. What do you mean? He's already masked up. Oh, I don't get it, man. Here's some more stories. Steve Aoki, the guy who does cakes, does the little wah, wah, I don't know, he does wah, 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 wah stuff. Rage Murdered and Shine Down were paid grant money. It claims that members of Alice in Chains were paid $3.4 million, and it has this infuriating detail, and this probably is one that does take the cake. Scott Dashrodin, a guitar tech and tour photographer who had worked with the band for years, received a cancer diagnosis in late 2022. The band, which records show did not spend grant money on benefits like health insurance, circulated a GoFundMe page on Twitter. Dashrodin has since passed away, and sources tell Business Insider that the band didn't do much to help him financially. It's like, yeah, they threw him a fucking pity GoFundMe when they literally could have invested in some, I don't know, health insurance for not just him, but everyone involved in this fucking project. There's a goddamn band. And they said, nah, he RIP or whatever. I'm sure they made a tweet about it. And it's like, dude, it's fucked up. It does feel heartless. There's no other way to look at it. And you can just say, oh, that wasn't their intention, da 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 da. There's genuine blah blah blah. But I'm not gonna fucking take a bullet for Alice in Chains. I'm not taking a bullet for Chris Brown or fucking Lil Wayne or once again Steve Aoki. I don't care. Fuck them all, dude. It's you didn't have to move like this. At the end of the day, y'all didn't need the money like this. Other motherfuckers definitely did. So yeah, it's a bummer to kind of see this shit, but I felt like, why not talk about it on the podcast? Get it off my chest there. But yeah, that's it. That's really all I have for today. We won't really have any shilling or anything like that. So, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend, and hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.